Hello, virtuous thought leaders, scholars, and virtue change agents. My name is Dr. Lisa Marie Portugal, and I am the Leadership Architect. I'd like to welcome you today to another talk that I have prepared for you and in service to you and your goals. This talk is about charismatic versus transformational leaders and how they influence followers. It is part one. Part two will follow right after this talk. It comes out of one of my many books called A Culture of Excellence, Virtuous Leadership Principles for Organizational Success, a Management System. And the cover slide is also the cover of the book, The Four Cardinal Virtues: Prudence, Justice, Fortitude, and Temperance. We cannot achieve greatness or magnanimity unless and until we master the virtues within ourselves. Reaching greatness or magnanimity is about virtue building within ourselves, our families, communities, and others. We cannot achieve magnanimity until fortitude, self-control, counsel, justice, prudence, understanding, respect for others, temperance, humility, charity, piety, and courage are present first within us. We cannot give to others what we do not possess ourselves. So understanding how to master ourselves and build virtue is the first, ongoing, and last step required for magnanimity. And mastering the virtues is a lifelong and ongoing process throughout our entire lives. When we fall, pick yourself up and start the practice of virtue building again, and do this throughout your entire life. Magnanimity is an ongoing process and a focus we should have throughout our lives. It is also a focus we should have for working with, mentoring, and coaching others to their greatness. We can build virtue within ourselves and help others in our sphere of influence to achieve greatness in their own lives by teaching the virtues and living the virtues in everything we do. I'd like to invite you today and every day to live virtuously. Okay, here is the table of contents about Dr. Portugal: identification with the leader's vision. We're going to talk about transformational leaders as well as charismatic leaders and how followers identify with their leadership vision. Then we will talk about transformational leaders and charismatic leaders in the category of heightened emotional levels. And then we will close out with comparing and contrasting the two types of leaders in regards to willing subordination to the leader. All right, here is my About page. I just wanted to appreciate you. I chose this graphic for you. Hey, I see you. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. I want to honor you for developing your leadership and management skills for yourself, your own growth, the growth of your family, your community, for our nation, our society. I think it's awesome that you care to develop yourself and help leadership advance in our world and in our nation, and to spread our virtues and values, right? As well as teaching virtuous leadership and virtue building. All right, so let's start with identification with the leader's vision. Charismatic and transformational leaders are similar in that they both involve moving groups from one set of circumstances to another. In addition, they are both naturally future-oriented. The following discussion analyzes how transformational and charismatic leadership types relate to four fellowship types. Identification with the leader involves a bonding process whereby followers feel an intense affection for a leader. Now, as I go through some of these key points, understand or start to understand what it is that followers are looking for and how they may buy into you as a leader, because they're trying to satisfy any of these needs. So let's get into that. In addition, followers may feel they hold the same beliefs as a leader. These characteristics tend to be common with the followers of charismatic leaders. Other factors related to identification with the leader can involve wanting to be like the leader, wanting approval from the leader, heightened feelings of self-worth when associated with the leader, dissatisfaction with the status quo. So, for example, people may be upset by what they see going on in society or our culture or our nation or the world. And if they like your vision or they like you as a person, they're dissatisfied with what they see, and they may follow you with the vision that you have placed forth in their mind, right? So, like I said, some of these ideas may be reasons why people may follow you. And then finally, viewing the leader's vision as a resolution to their difficulties. Do they believe that you can solve problems? Are you a problem solver? Finally, a psychological connection or investment to an objective or cause larger than oneself can be another factor. A lot of times people will join a movement or join a group or a leader because they want to be involved with something that's larger than themselves. All right, so let's take a look at transformational leaders and the identification with the leader's vision. Transformational leaders have the ability to implement substantial change within organizations or societies or nations. That can be you. The content of what these types of leaders say when they speak and present to followers is both charismatic and vitally important. Transformational leaders inspire others to action by intellectual means and generating buy-in through aligning the type of change needed with what followers desire or can connect with. So before I found virtuous leadership, I did like this transformational leadership style because my way of connecting with others is through the intellect. As you can see through all of my talks and through the many slides, I am connecting with you on an intellectual level, providing content for you, and that's my way. But we're going to also talk about the differences between transformational and charismatic. So listen closely. So let's finish off with transformational. They have the ability to make followers follow their vision because they present it in a way that meets followers' needs. Transformational leaders possess competencies in engaging the intellect of followers while drawing connections to their expectations. All right, so let's get to the next slide. But before I do, I love this quote. Leaders create culture. Culture drives behavior. Behavior produces results. So you and I, as leaders and managers of our families, our communities, in every engagement we have with others, we are culture creators and we are culture content creators as well. So what kind of culture content are you going to create in your own specific way with your talents and skills to help change the culture? All right, so now let's take a look at charismatic leaders and identification with the leader's vision. Charismatic leaders perceive problems with how things are versus the way things should be. To address this perceived challenge, these leaders provide an imaginative vision for followers to overcome. The vision these types of leaders present to followers can have a unifying and stimulating effect on the efforts that followers make. This can assist in driving greater change and organizational alignment with escalated levels of performance from those who follow. Ironically, the more complex a problem may be, the more followers tend to desire simple solutions. In the end, the success of a leader's vision can be a simplistic solution. Charismatic leaders have advanced speaking skills and the ability to share their vision with followers in a gifted manner, connecting with their emotions. So those are the two big differences between charismatic and transformational. Charismatic will connect through emotions, and they connect through their speaking. And transformational leaders will connect on an intellectual level, and they will connect through their content, the content that they present. All right, so let's get to the next slide. Let's now look at another category, heightened emotional levels. Transformational leaders. The heightened emotional level of followers involves a follower's psychological and emotional closeness to a leader. Transformational leaders engage followers' intellect, and they have the ability to draw connections between what followers want and need. These leaders connect on an intellectual level and present compelling and logical reasons to follow. I hope that I'm presenting compelling and logical reasons for you in all of my talks. Transformational leaders use rational discourse and logical connections to make points or reframe issues. Content of speech is important to transformational leaders, and that is very true for me. The content that I give to you is very important to me, and I want to impart that information that I have gained throughout my many years of teaching and taking degrees and managing and leading others and working in corporate systems. Okay, so now let's move on to the next slide. I love this graphic here. Your culture is your brand. So there's another connection. I'm always talking about what is your leadership brand, the brand that you want to develop for yourself. Well, it's based upon the culture that you promote and you foster. And the culture that I promote is about virtue building. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Now let's take a look at charismatic leaders and how they affect emotional levels in followers. Charismatic leaders connect with followers on an emotional level and present emotional and passionate proposals. Charismatic leaders use emotional tactics and hypnotic power to deliver messages to followers rather than stimulating the intellect. So there's a big difference there. Charismatic leaders use stories, analogies, and metaphors. So whenever you hear someone giving a speech to you, are they presenting a story of, someone they know, that type of thing? Are they using imagery and analogies, metaphors, and stories to engage their learners? The delivery of the speech is important to charismatic leaders. So how they deliver a speech to someone versus the content of the speech. Can you see the difference there between transformational and charismatic? All right, so let's move on to the next slide. Now let's look at transformational leaders, willing subordination to leader. How do followers willingly submit to their leadership? Transformational leaders have the ability to build trust and reach goals through unconventional tactics and behavior, self-sacrifice, personal example, strength of moral conviction, and unshakable self-confidence. These leaders tend to portray unusual ability and insight, as well as behaving in a manner compatible with their values and vision. So as you can see, I tend to gravitate towards the transformational style because I love some of these categories here. I always express that people should be a personal example. Our moral conviction is very important. We want to lead through virtue building and through our King, Jesus Christ, putting him first, right? And self-sacrifice. So all of these ideas fit well with the kind of person that I want to be. So these leaders tend to portray unusual ability and insight as well as behavior in a manner compatible with their values and visions. Transformational leaders believe in building trust with followers by displaying concern for their needs over self-centeredness. All right, so now let's take a look at the last slide and compare charismatic leaders and how followers willingly submit to their leadership style. Willing subordination to a leader involves a follower's yielding to a leader's control. So this is why this particular one doesn't really work out too well for me. I'm not interested in people submitting to me so that I can have control over them. So let's continue on. Because charismatic leaders may seem gifted with special qualities, followers tend to willingly and naturally submit to a leader's apparent superiority or authority. And I put both of those words in quotation marks because we always have to be careful with that. There are a lot of people out here in our society today, and they've always existed, where they want to present themselves as a superiority or an authority on something, and we want to be careful and make sure and research that. And I personally don't like handing over my authority to anyone. If I'm going to listen to someone, I'm going to still maintain my authority, and I'm going to research what they're saying, so I don't willingly submit to other people, other than my King, Jesus Christ, of course. All right, so let's continue on. Followers tend to put aside any ability to think critically. All right, I don't do that either. I never put aside my ability to think critically. I always keep that in mind and in the forefront. And whatever someone is saying in their speech or in their style or mannerisms, I'm going to keep my logic and critical thinking skills top of mind. Okay, in addition, they tend to have few doubts regarding the leader's skills, intentions, and the correctness of the change or vision agenda. Finally, followers tend to suspend their understanding about the actions they may need to take for a vision to be successfully realized. Charismatic leaders can be overly conscious about their image and may tend to take undeserved credit for the accomplishments of others. In addition, they can exaggerate their expertise. Okay, so that closes out the various differences between the two leadership styles. I will continue on in the next talk with any of the other details that I have prepared for you. And then just one closing thought. If you happen to be very good at public speaking and you can sway people and you have a great presentation style and you're visually an attractive person to other people, it's always good to have charisma. And just to let you know, that word charisma or charismatic comes from the church. Charism. Look up charism. That means the special gifts or talents that God has given to us. So it's always important for us to uncover what are our special charisms that God has given us. So if you happen to be a great speaker and people are interested in following you because you have a beautiful presentation style, that's a gift that you have. So either of these styles or leadership models might be good for you, or a combination of both. But wait, there's more. I'm going to cover a lot more models and theories for you as far as leadership, for you to pick and choose and decide what might suit you best as a leader. All right, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and advancing your leadership skills. It is always my pleasure and honor to serve you. God bless you, and I'll see you on the next talk. Goodbye.